All that matters is to get the ones that have got hand.
So this Saturday you're hosting an event called A Day to Remember here at the Museum of Liverpool. What exactly is this day about and what are your intentions?
Here at the Museum of Liverpool we have the King's Regiment collection, and I'm the curator of that collection. And a lot of our inquiries are to do with family history research for people both locally and from across the world. We have a database here of about 76,000 King's Regiment soldiers who served in the First World War. The King's Regiment was the biggest city regiment in the whole of the country, and so it has a lot of material, a lot of research material for people who are doing family history research. So as I say, we have this database of about 76,000 soldiers who served in the First World War, and so the database is available to the public on the gallery, but what they get on the day, on our special days, are experts who can help them do the research and help them interpret what they're reading on the database and find out more about their relatives and generally point them in the right direction for further resources.
So you mentioned you have experts and historians coming in to help. How else would they contribute to the day?
Well, the experts range. Some of them have a local interest in specific battalions. So we have an expert whose interest is the 9th Battalion, and we also have members of the Liverpool Scottish Museum group here. But also we have Western Front people who are working for us and people from the PALs who do research on the PALs. So they contribute in a number of ways. Mainly it's just to direct people really into not only the material that we have here at the museum, because as I say we have a considerable amount, but also where else they can go to find out information. Sometimes people come to us and they sort of say, oh, you know, I found out this and I found out this, but I've come to a dead stop and I don't know where else to go. And in those times and on those occasions, sometimes our experts just have a little bit of that knowledge that helps them move further with their research.
So I read you have quite a lot of family activities on the day. What sort of activities are you providing?
We did the last time that we did this event, because the museum hasn't been open since 2006. We haven't had a city history museum since 2006. And so we've done the event in other venues. And the last time that we did it was in 2008 as part of the Remembrance 90 commemorations. And we wanted to do something that was kind of interesting to our younger visitors, and we looked at what we had in the King's Regiment collection, and there are embroidered envelopes which are quite common that were sent from First World War soldiers at the front. They were made by Belgian and French refugees as a way to keep themselves, and a lot of the soldiers bought those and sent them home, and we have quite a few in the collection. So we took those as inspiration, and we brought a local artist in called Tiki Lowe. And she worked with children's groups, older family groups, pensioners groups to recreate these envelopes and for people to stitch them and sew them with their own memories. And sometimes they contain messages to lost relatives or to soldiers at the front now. And that craft activity actually ended up with us having a banner which is now on the gallery on the First World War exhibition upstairs on the From Waterfront to Western Front exhibition. And so we're really continuing that. So we're inviting the visitors to come in, and they can stitch and embroider their own envelopes. They can leave their own messages. They can be sometimes quite poignant, and yeah, it's a nice activity to do, and it's nice to actually be able to have something at the end of it that we were able to put onto gallery.
I also read that you have some performances planned. What will these performances be about? Are they like role plays?
Yeah, we have. One of our rooms is set aside for some talks for the day, and they'll range from talks about the First World War. So, for instance, the first one in the morning is about Noel Shabazz, the VC winner who lived in Liverpool. Also, we have role play and performance happening in that room, based on again some of the material that was used in the From Waterfront to Western Front exhibition on the second floor. Also, we have a role player, our own Tommy Atkins, wandering around the galleries, so people can kind of bump into him and ask him questions. He's a general King's Regiment chap, and he'll be around all day to kind of help people with their queries and to direct them to the event itself. We also have a choir singing extracts from, I think it's called Bullets to Daffodils, which is the Wilfred Owen musical. So they'll be singing extracts in the afternoon on gallery. And we also have some gallery talks by one of our assistant curators here on the City Soldiers Gallery.
So if the event goes well on Saturday, are you planning on doing it again sometime in the future?
Yeah, this is an event that we've run on and off for about the last 10 years. It never ceases to amaze me how many people are still interested in doing their family history. You imagine that there'll be a finite number of people who want to know about soldiers who served in the King's Regiment, but that's not the case. I get inquiries daily about people whose relatives served in the First World War in the King's Regiment. So the event will, without doubt, I mean, as everybody at the moment in the current climate, we have our own funding issues, but as much as we can continue to do these events, we will continue to do these events and offer this free service to the public.
So you said you had a database as well, so obviously have you got that going year round?
The database is actually here on gallery and it's available to the public. We've always made it partly available to the public, but for the first time everybody can come onto gallery here 365 days of the year and have a look on the database and see if their relative is on there. There were about just over 100,000 soldiers served with the regiment during the First World War, and we have 76,000 of them on the database. So it's an ongoing project, but it's 3/4 full, so people have a very good chance of finding their relative on the database.
And so I just wanted to mention about the past few days, you've been speaking about some of the lives and stories of some of the soldiers. One was David Jones, and there were two Turner brothers, William and Fred. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about their stories?
Yeah, they were just three out of over 100,000 people that I picked out just to put on the internet. And we will be putting some more people on over the next few days. And really, they just give examples of the kinds of information that we have available to people about their relatives. David Jones won the Victoria Cross, which is the highest award in the land for soldiers, at the Battle of Guillemont in France. The Battle of Guillemont was one of the battles of the Somme, so he won it in the late summer of 1916. He was a sergeant, and his commanding officers had all been killed in the push forward to Guillemont, the village. And David took command of his machine gun battery and actually held the position for 2 days, allowing the rest of his comrades to, him and his small battery of men held the position for 2 days, allowing his comrades to retreat back to safety of Trones Wood. And they had no water, no food, and they repelled 3 attacks by the German forces in that time period. Unfortunately, David was due to receive his Victoria Cross from the King on the battlefield, but a month later he was actually killed as the troops moved further forward and pushed the Germans further back. David was killed and never received the award, and his wife received it from the King instead. The Turner brothers were both brothers who'd signed up almost together. Fred, when he went to the Western Front, was put in charge of a company of the Liverpool Scottish, who were one of our territorial battalions, but was killed shortly afterwards. His brother Will came out to the Western Front a few months later, and the company who Fred had been in charge of actually requested that Will become their commanding officer. So he was put in charge of the company, but unfortunately he was killed too. And that's just one example where more than one family member from one family is killed or injured, and we have thousands of those examples of people being killed or wounded where the mothers have had to watch both of her sons or 3 of her sons, some occasions 5 of her sons, going to war together.
And are you expecting many soldiers who are in like Iraq or anything today, if they're on leave? Are you expecting any of them to turn up for the event? Or do you get many people turning up?
We're expecting lots of people to turn up for the event, but This event generally tends to appeal to a different kind of audience, the audience who are doing their family history research. Certainly our own Duke of Lancaster's regiment, which is what the King's Regiment have now become, will probably be busy because a lot of them are training because they're going back to the front again. This isn't the sort of event that they normally come to, but we do have other events in the museum where we expect to see quite a lot more of them.